Well, we can speak now to Nick Hilton, Chief TV Critic at The Independent. Thanks very much for being with us. Well, that interview last night on ITV apparently got fewer viewers than Happy Valley. What was your view of it?
Well, I would much rather have been watching Happy Valley, I have to be honest with you. I think it was sort of just rehashing the kind of headlines that have been dripping out over the last few days since the Spanish media got hold of those early copies of Spare. So it didn't have the kind of the novelty that I think a lot of these big set piece interviews have. And I'm not surprised at all that people would rather be watching Happy Valley, which is excellent.
What did you think of the way the interview was conducted? Because Tom Bradby is obviously a friend of Prince Harry's, but he was quite combative in parts.
I thought it was very stage managed, combative questions, if they were combative at all. I thought he was a little bit too sycophantic for my taste. I think he found just about every adjective possible to praise Harry's writing, and large chunks of the interview, including one you just heard there in the preview, were actually just extracts from the audiobook of Spare. So it very much had the feeling of a press release or sort of a publicity stunt for the book and for the audiobook, which Harry is kind of engaged on the book tour to end all book tours with at the moment.
It was interesting to hear him read excerpts from his book, wasn't it? I mean, especially the parts where he talked about his, altercation with William, where William allegedly, knocked him to the floor. It was just quite an interesting, something different to hear him actually read those excerpts out with his own voice.
Yeah, I mean, he's voiced the audiobook for his publishers, and then that will be a source of great interest to people to kind of hear Harry talking about all these slightly kind of gossipy, salacious stories, kind of in his own words. I think it sort of infused the whole interview with a slightly scripted quality. Even though you may think that maybe Tom Bradby was more robust than I do, I still think that there was a sense that Harry was kind of in control of the narrative, in control of the questions that were being asked of him. And I'm just not sure that we're getting anything new out of this story now. It feels like no emotional revelations are coming our way.
And this is just this interview with ITV, just one of several that he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, ITV ended last night by promoting the fact that they had the exclusive rights to the Anderson Cooper interviews to air in the UK. I mean, it's kind of incessant, and it's a strange, imbalanced thing because, on the other side, his father, his brother, they aren't doing any media rounds. They aren't getting any of their story heard. So it's a strange situation where he's really aggressively fighting this air war, but the other side aren't really even participating in it.
Did you feel any more sympathetic to Prince Harry, having heard his case and his arguments for, the best part of an hour and a half, talking about how he was traumatised as a 12-year-old boy the moment he heard from his father that his mother had been involved in this car crash which killed her, and all the difficulties of growing up with that trauma?
Well, I think I'm naturally very sympathetic to Harry in terms of dealing with the childhood trauma, which would impact anyone enormously. And I think I also feel like he and Meghan probably have been poorly treated by the royals. And I am probably Team Harry if I had to take a team on this thing, which I thankfully don't. So I wasn't more sympathetic to it. I was, in fact, probably less sympathetic because, he's another kind of privileged guy getting a 9 p.m. primetime slot on ITV to kind of air all these family grievances we've heard just relitigated again and again in the media that he's demonizing. And it just felt a little bit like maybe he doesn't see the hypocrisy in some of what he's saying. But I'm naturally sympathetic to his story, which is sad and is poignant. And I think what's happened has been a net negative for the country.
Just one last very quick question. I mean, he said he'd like to reconciliation with his brother and father in particular. Whatever he said to them would remain private. I guess it's quite hard to think of them having talks that would remain private.
Yes, I mean, it certainly seems like everyone's in kind of full briefing mode, and I don't know what a sort of powwow would look like between them, but there has to be a better way of doing it for both the royals themselves and for the British kind of viewing public than this constant litigating it in public eye. It's a family saga, and lots of it is no more interesting than the average family dynamics. It doesn't need to be aired on 9 p.m. on a Sunday night on ITV, in my opinion. But where there's an audience for it, it will continue to be so.
All right, Nick. Great to talk to you. Thank you very much. Nick Hilton there, Chief TV Critic at The Independent.